Hello, Table Rock Fishing Intel Pro members. First off, again, thank you for being Intel members. Hope you are enjoying the new website. Hope you've checked it out, been through it all, seen all the changes, seen how much easier it is to find all the information. Change is never easy, but we think this is definitely a change for the better and a heck of a lot more information on there for you on a daily basis for fishing on Table Rock Lake. As far as our lake level is concerned, 915.59, about 1.5 feet below normal summer pool. The core's running water for about 5 or 6 hours, actually up to about 8 hours every evening to meet power demands. Hopefully we get some of this rain that they're predicting, and it'll help bring the lake level up. Don't know if it'll happen or not because they've been pretty bad about predicting it lately. But we could certainly use some fresh water in the lake. Water temperature, mid-80s pretty much all over the lake. Doesn't seem to matter where I am. Mid-80s down by the dam, mid-80s Kimberling, mid-80s Baxter, mid-80s Shell Knob, mid-80s up around Ants Creek. You get in the upper reaches. I was up the James yesterday, and we did see some 88s, 89s, and I'm sure if you got way up where the water's got a lot of color before it clears, you might even see some 90s on a warm, sunny day. But right now we're around the mid-80s all over the lake. Bite's been good. Things are changing just a little bit, but we are catching fish a few different ways. Like I said, I was up the James yesterday looking for a different bite. You may have seen it on the report on Table Rock Fishing Intel. But we are certainly catching them a few different ways around the lake. Of course, you guys know, best way to know, be a member of Table Rock Fishing Intel like you are. And I'd ask if you would invite your friends to become members of Table Rock Fishing Intel, especially before we have the price increase that's coming once we introduce the app. Probably about mid to late August we'll have the app out there, and you guys are going to really love the app when you see it. It's going to make everything a lot easier if you're on your phone or on a tablet or something like that than using the website. But if you're coming down and you're going to fish the lower end of the lake, the lower end continues to be tough. Day in, day out grind up there. I mean, catch a few, having to move a lot, having to run a lot. Best bite by far is on a drop shot rig with either a shad shape or a cut tail or UV drop shot worm, that sort of thing. Most of the guides that are fishing down there have gone strictly night crawler. Nobody's using any plastic whatsoever, so they're all using live bait, which if you're not using live bait makes the bite even tougher when you're throwing plastic. The majority of the fish have been coming out of some sort of cover, not just out on the gravel points like we traditionally catch them in the summertime. Either coming out of treetops, on either bluff ends, or back in channel creek or channel bends and creeks, things like that, or coming off the end of docks, bigger community docks that are over deeper water. For the most part, the fish are all in that 20 to 35 foot range. You'll see them on your electronics, and you just got to drop down to them. If they've been fed a pretty steady diet of night crawlers, if you're dropping plastic, you're going to have a lot harder time catching them. But they can be caught. You can do the same thing with a dual scuba spoon and drop it down there and work it kind of hard, work it around there, pop it pretty hard. You will get a few reaction strikes doing that if the fish are fairly active. The other reason I like to have that spoon laying on my deck is every once in a while you'll have fish bust out in front of you, and you can throw that spoon, or if you've got the LS spin from Jewel, you can catch them doing that as well, throwing them out there to those busting fish and work it underneath them, kind of rip it and kill it, rip it and kill it, and they almost always hit it when it's falling. So that's definitely another option to have, lay it on your deck if you've got these fish and you're out fishing deep and you start to see them busting out in front of you. Top water bite at the dam, essentially non-existent. I think I had one blow up last week in the 2 or 3 trips I did out of Big Cedar. So when I go to the dam, I don't even put top waters in the boat for my clients anymore. And I might have one for myself laying on the deck, but really I'm not throwing a top water much. Brush pile bite, if you go up Long Creek, has been decent with a big worm, 10 or 12 inch worm, Texas rigged, or with the Pee Wee spider jig HD. It's been pretty decent. If I were fishing a tournament, I certainly would not rely on it, but you can certainly catch a few fish on that. And then I went way up Long Creek, up above Yoakum, threw a buzzbait a little bit and a squarebill a little bit, hoping to find fish on some of the laydowns and the trash that's out on the main, or out on the flats. I did that. I didn't do it first thing in the morning, did it after a Big Cedar trip in the afternoon. I caught one short on a buzzbait. I had a few other fish kind of roll on it. but it's just not quite there yet. It seemed like there weren't a lot of shad up on those flats. It seemed like the shad were more towards the channel, so I did throw around some laydowns on the channel and had another roll on it, but buzzbait bite down there is just not happening. Go to the mid lake. The drop shot bite, the overall bite is better in the mid lake by far. Definitely want to have your drop shot with a shad shaped cut tail, UV drop shot worm, chompers drop shot worm. Again, like the dam, the bite is better around cover, whether it be standing timber or the ends of docks, same sort of locations and same sort of depth. That 20 to 35 foot depth really seems to be the key. It's got me believing the thermocline's probably going to set up here pretty soon, but I'm not seeing a thermocline on my graph, so I don't think it's fully set up yet. But you can definitely do that with a drop shot rig. You can do it with a spoon or again the LS spin. I keep those laying on my deck all the time this time of year, just because you never know when they're going to come up busting out in front of you. So I keep those handy. A lot of times those fish are just coming out over nothing. They'll be out there over 100 foot of water. They'll have a school of shad out there and they just start chasing them. So keep that in mind. Top water bite a little bit better, but not great in the mid lake. You know, have it laying on your deck. Have a spook, have a shower blows, have a Sammy, have a popar, whatever you like to throw, laying on your deck, because they have been coming up. You know, this morning was kind of cloudy and we did have some fish busting. So definitely want to keep that in mind. If you're in the mid lake area, have it ready, because by the time you dig it out and get ready to throw it, they're going to be down. So have it ready to throw when you are fishing the mid lake area. The jig and big worm bite is okay in the mid lake. I'd actually say the big worm bite in brush piles has definitely been better than the jig bite, like out on gravel. You can catch a few in brush piles. I will say this about the brush pile bite all over the lake. It certainly seems like these fish are starting to transition from those shallow mid-lake, I'd say shallow 10 to 20 foot brush piles deep to the deeper ones, the 20 to 30 foot brush piles. And we have been catching a few on a big worm, like a 10-inch Texas rig power worm or a UV worm, whatever you like to throw, in those deeper brush piles. So keep that in mind, and that's certainly been a good bite for the guys at night, but they're fishing the shallower brush piles versus the deep brush piles. Go up in the James. Like I said, I was up the James yesterday. We stayed from Cape Fear up looking for a shallow bite. We caught a ton of shorts. Just an absolute ton of shorts yesterday, and only a handful of keepers. It's just the river fishing. Sometimes you're on them, sometimes you're not. But we caught a lot of fish, most of them on roll-offs. Most of them where we either had a gravel point or a gravel flat, and it would roll off from, let's say, 18 to 20 foot down to about 25 or 30. Through the Pee Wee football jig, the new HD one, through the Pee Wee spider jig, through a Carolina rig, and even throw the LS spin at them a little bit, and caught fish on all of them. Just couldn't catch any keepers, but there are a lot of fish out there where that rolls off into that deeper water. And then you get a cloudy day like you got today, they may move up, they may actually get on the flats and feed, but for the most part we're catching them on roll-offs up there. Caught a few on topwater as well, same locations. We were out there fishing. We threw a topwater right off the bat in some of my better topwater spots and never had a sniff. About 8:30 or 9 o'clock, we were fishing a roll-off point, and either a group of shad moved up or they just moved up on the shad that were on the point and started busting, and I think we caught 6 or 8 on topwater real quick. I think we might have had one keeper out of that group, but it didn't really matter. Just caught them real quick. So have that topwater ready, whether it's a spook, Sammy, shower blow, popar, whopper plopper, whatever you like to throw. Have that ready in case they do blow up on you when you're out there. And then other than that, you know, I've just like up the up the Long Creek, threw a buzzbait a little bit, threw a square bill a little bit yesterday, up just dirt shallow, and never had a sniff. Nothing. Never had a blow up, never had a roll on it, nothing happened. So I think we're a little bit of ways away from that, but I'm sure it will certainly happen, and it can be a day-by-day thing. You know, it's river fishing can be one way one day, and the next day you can go out and be exactly the opposite. They'll be shallow, they'll be chasing shad, they'll be moving around a lot more, depending on current and everything else. Go up in the White River, a couple trips in the White River last week. Again, drop shot bite is the most consistent bite. It's not going to put the biggest fish in the boat, but it is the most consistent bite on the lake right now. Shad shape, cut tail, UV drop shot worm, chompers drop shot worm. Supplement that with a spoon and an LS spin. Most of those fish, again, trees, dock cables, 20, 25, 30 foot deep. Pretty much, for the most part, I'm doing better in creek channels and the ends of bluffs than I am anywhere else with the trees. And then on the docks, it's definitely been creek channels more than the main lake. And the docks got to be fairly deep. There's a lot of docks up there that on the ends of them, they're about 30 feet deep, and those will not hold as many fish as if it's like 50 or 60 feet deep. So look for those deeper docks, those big community docks. And if that's your strategy, you're going to want to do that early before the sun gets on that dock, because they will slide up under the dock where you can't get to them once the sun gets up, or they'll follow that cable out to about 35 or 40 where they're a little bit harder to catch. But keep that in mind. Top water bite, again, kind of hit or miss. One day up there, smoked them. Had 10, 15 fish on poppars. Same spot. Next day, had one. And a couple of blow-ups, and that was it. So, hit or miss on the top water. Same deal with a spoon. Same deal with the LS spoon. When you're up there, you see them busting, have it ready, throw it at them. But you can't rely on it as being, I'm going to go out and throw a top water all day. I'm going to go out and cast a spoon, or I'm going to cast a LS spin all day. Just, they're hit and miss. Some days they eat it, some days they don't. So keep that in mind as well. Further up, either in the Kings or like up above Big M, the brush pile bite's been pretty strong, especially with the new Pee Wee HD spider jig and the Pee Wee HD football jig and the Kings. Both of those have been very strong up there, both on brush piles and where those gravel points roll off into deeper water. Again, most of the fish are starting to transition to those deeper piles. Instead of the 10 to 15, we're looking at the 20 to 25 foot piles. And a big worm's been working really good for a little bit better bite up in those. But a lot of fish coming out of brush, both up the Kings and up the White, above Big M, and even up above Eagle Rock. Fish one trip up above Eagle Rock, and we threw jigs and big worms, and had a pretty good day up there. Threw a buzzbait a little bit while I was up there, and again, I think we're just a little bit away from the buzzbait bite. I think it'll get better once things kind of, if we got some rain and it moved the shad up there shallow, we'd have a good buzzbait bite. But right now, things are a little bit, I don't want to say stagnant, but there's not a lot happening up in the bushes and up around the laydowns, unless you're out there at night or first thing in the morning. Guys, we're past 4th of July. We got one more silly holiday to deal with before we're done with the pleasure boat festivities on the lake. If you're out on the lake this weekend, hey, folks are using their boats, that's for sure. It was very busy, but we're done with that. During the week, it does not seem nearly as busy as it was over the weekend. Last couple of days have actually seemed kind of slow. Kind of wondered what was going on. So if you can get out during the week, great. If you're gonna fish on the weekends, get out there early, get off the water early. It's the best thing I can tell you. All my weekend trips were done by 9:30 or 10 o'clock at the very latest. Bite's been good, bite's been strong. If we get a thermocline set up, I think the deep bite will be even better. Of course, you guys know the best way to stay on top of it. Keep that Table Rock Fishing Intel membership going, and look at the daily reports, weekly reports, all that information that we give you on a daily basis to help you catch more fish on Table Rock. If you're coming down though, want to hire a guide, give me a call. It's Focus Fishing Guide Service. You can reach me at 417-860-4743. Or hit my website, focusfishing.com, where you can either book online or just shoot me an email. Either way, I get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Again, thanks for being Table Rock Fishing Intel members. Can't wait to hear from you. We'll see you on the water.